everyone, my name is Shauna Floyd. I am currently enrolled in the College of Education at Grand Canyon University. I am taking Intercultural Communications and will today be reacting and reviewing the Body Rituals Among the NASA Culture journal. As you can see, I have taken a lot of notes, highlighted a lot, and I have a lot to say about this. So, without further ado, let's begin. To begin, my initial reaction to reading this journal is frustration. I'm frustrated with American society specifically for demonstrating judgment and hypocrisy in like the tone and the things that were said in this journal without realizing the similarities between the NASA culture and our own. The NASA culture mirrors American culture vividly, and here are some examples of that. NASA culture is characterized and actually originates from essentially what they would consider a god who is known for having two great feats of strength. They're also known for having a highly developed market economy, and they're really well developed. Their economy and their creator, or like where their beliefs originate, mirror like American, or honestly the rest of the world, what we would see as God and the United States economy. What frustrated me is the author's judgmental tone. One thing they said is the magical beliefs and practices of the NASA present such unusual aspects that it seems desirable to describe them as an example of the extremes to which human behavior can go. And the reason that quote bothers me so much is because it's kind of indicative of saying they are unusual, they are different, they are wrong, we are right. At the end of the journal, the author quotes another author from a different article saying, "Looking far and above from our high places of safety in the developed civilization, it is easy to see all the crudity and irrelevance of magic." He goes on to say that it's hard to understand how they have managed to exist so long under burdens, get this, burdens which they have imposed upon themselves. Some more examples of how they are similar, more than just God and the economy. They're known to have very serious hygiene and societal beauty standards, just as we do in the United States, only we consider what they do abnormal or incorrect because they do it in a way that is not as civilized as our world. The NASA have shrines of all kinds of different religious artifacts in their homes, just as we have crosses or Buddha or things from our religions. The NASA are known to imitate the richer NASA by putting pottery or cheaper versions of these shrines in their homes, just like we have fake designer bags. Another really big similarity they have to us is their medicine men, who would be doctors to us. They actually have a secret language between the doctors and the people who make the medicine, and they're not allowed to talk about what happened with said patient, said NASA native, to anybody else, which is reminiscent of HIPAA. Another big thing is they're actually a very classist society. Wealth is determined by the number of religious shrines that you have in your house, or in your home, you know. And so if I have 6 and somebody else has 36, my number would be 6 and theirs would be 36. I would be lower on the totem pole. I would be, third class. A good example of this would be Titanic. Rose, first class, she does as she wants. She has a large suite, she sips wine, whilst Jack is third class, stays at the bottom of the ship, takes all of the blame and the harassment, and drinks stale beer. The NASA also have what they call holy water, which is secured from a water temple, which is reminiscent of Catholicism, baptisms, cleansing with holy water. They have what they call the holy mouth man, who will remove parts of the teeth or drill out parts of the teeth and replace that hole wherever the decay is with magical materials, as said by the author. But it's no different than us going to the dentist. They just do it in what we call an uncivilized way. What this says about American culture, especially what the author is showing, is the hypocrisy, because she goes on to say that there is a, quote, gleam in the eye of a holy mouth man as he jabs an awl into an exposed nerve to suspect a certain amount of sadism is involved. Sadism is often described and used to describe a sexual part of American culture. But my question for the author is, are you a sadist? Because how can you look at somebody and say, oh, I think that your culture is very weird, I think that your culture is very unusual, you have a glimmer in your eye, I think you're a sadist. They also have not a sexist society, but they do have gender roles, much like we have had in the United States throughout all of history. Men have certain things that they do, like lacerating the surfaces of their face. Women have many rituals, but not nearly as many as men. They're not placed on the same level of importance as men, things like that. Women's naked bodies are known to be sexually harassed in the Nasamera culture. Sexual harassment of women is a big problem in American culture as well. So there's another example. The best way to explain it is they have rituals to make fat people thin, to make thin people fat, to make women's breasts larger, or to make them smaller if they are too large. They even have societally attractive women who make money by allowing people to stare at their naked body, much like strippers or, as said by Ben Davis from his essay/article from mvorganizing.org, we are always thinking we are normal and others are strange, when in reality we are just as strange as other cultures are to us. So what is normal? On this, I'd like to discover an American cultural norm that is actually considered offensive in cultures abroad. I'm talking about tipping. Connecting to American worldview and values, tipping is an expectation and a key part of culinary economy for the nearly 650,000 restaurants in America, as reported by Rachel Greenspan from Time magazine in her article, "It's the Legacy of Slavery, Here's the Troubling History Behind Tipping in the United States." The article explains the history of tipping and how it has changed throughout history. The term tip, T-I-P, comes from the 1850s and 1860s and is believed to mean to ensure promptness. Before this, tipping was seen in medieval times when masters would tip their unpaid and underpaid servants. After returning from Europe in the 1850s and 1860s, people wishing to look aristocratic began this whole idea of tipping and why it should happen to slaves and underpaid workers and factory workers or restaurant workers. Restaurants initially deemed it condescending and classist, as they should at the time. Once slavery ended and the Constitution changed, many of the people who were enslaved were still working very poor jobs, slavery-related jobs, servant jobs, things like that. With the idea of tipping becoming increasingly popular, industries demanded the right to basically continue slavery by paying people $0 an hour plus tips. Despite resistance, tipping continued to grow. 6 states, including Iowa and Georgia, outlawed tipping completely between 1915 and 1918. At the time, they were calling them commercial bribes. By 1926, all anti-tip laws were outlawed. They were deemed unconstitutional. This was especially true for southern states. Restaurants then saw the opportunity to subsidize workers' pay by allowing tips, which allowed tipped workers to make more money. Today, tipped workers have a federal minimum of $2.13 an hour plus tip. The federal minimum is $7.25. So if after tip, the paid tipped worker doesn't make the federal minimum, then they are required by law to at least receive the federal minimum. Finally is determining the effect of tipping on American culture. As described previously by Rachel Greenspan from Time magazine, tipping is essential to the American economy, therefore it is beneficial, even though other countries still see it as being too proud or disrespectful. Restaurants can keep costs down, food is cheaper, and people have the opportunity to make more money this way. With the cost of services down, people have more money to tip. This has concluded my reaction. Thank you for watching and have a great day.